Hi guys, I'm ExactChaos and welcome back to another episode of Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. This is the rise of Cornoe and we're really starting to get into the decent stuff. Now, we are planning out our nuclear industry. We are trying to respect topography a lot, maybe not fully, but a lot by actually trying to get up this hill, allocating our mining sites along the hill, and then having alongside that a fairly narrow little area of where we can get some workers to come in. Now, we will need more workers, more stations, probably towards this side. I think these four guys over here may need to move a little bit further away. Alternatively, actually, we may have enough space in here. We will continue to look at that, and it'll take a long time before we're actually in a position where we can build this. But what I wanted to have a bit of a look at is planning out a few other bits of infrastructure. In the last episode, we started to plan out a potential additional connection across here. I think our travel distances are enormous to this spot, and we won't be able to effectively function a city here with these kind of travel distances, especially in winter. And then also we need to start looking at how we're going to tie back into the rest of our planning. Now, there's not much to go into this hill here, but what is of interest is for us to potentially come through here, right? So that's a bit of a long-term plan there, I think. And I don't know if we're going to have all the means that we need and then tie in on this side. There's a lot of building that still needs to happen over here. But we're not that far from getting a road connection out over there. But then I'm thinking we need to plan out something that can cut across here. Now, my initial thinking about keeping things navigable may not need to be in effect everywhere, right? So we may not need to do that in all kind of locations. So let's quickly, if we take the big plan, right, have a look at where we're at, right? So we're talking about connecting this, the autosave stops, connecting this road through there, through our peninsula here, and to potentially then all the way through to that side, right? So we're kind of thinking about a little connection through there. Initially, the plan was to kind of run it through this way, but ultimately maybe through here, so we can actually tie in over there as well and provide access to this island. And then obviously we'll have access to these areas and those areas. So I guess through there, directly to the border, may be one of the best spots we can think of. Okay. Now that gives us the ability to tie in through there. So a little bit of an interchange on here, probably something on here, probably something on here, and then something on here before we get, so maybe something like 4 interchanges before we get back to our port area on this side. So that's kind of, I think, the intent. Now, if we want to have a look at navigability, so at the moment, we can navigate through here to all of our various ports, right? Similarly, we're planning a port over here to be able to navigate out into this area here. And if we open that up, it'll be able to navigate to the other side, right? So I guess that is the primary navigation. Then we also have navigation that runs through there. So the only thing, I don't think we need navigation through this area. It may be useful, but if we're already doing it here, right, then the only thing that's a bit of a dilemma is going all the way around there. But we can cut through there, and we of course have the ability to come in over here, pick up stuff over here. Ultimately, rail may be a better part of it, but I want to use these things a little bit. Navigation through this part here may not be good. If we have that, I don't think we need navigation through these areas. So the only, I think, question mark is, do we maintain navigation through here? And I think the answer is yes, just because it's going to be so long way around to get there if we needed to. That ultimately this is the go-to one. So if we are going to bridge across here, at least this first bridge will need to be high enough to maintain navigation. And of course, the new bridge that we're planning over here needs to be high enough to maintain navigation. Now, this is not much of a problem because we've got all the vehicles and the things over here to be able to do the terraforming and get our height. But on this side, it may not be as easy. And I do kind of wonder maybe this one will be on piers instead of trying to do the thing. Okay, so let's go over here. Oh, we've paused. Oh, we've paused. Let's just see who is unpaused. Okay, let's just see what this is about. I didn't realize I've done the pause thing. Okay, let's close this. This is fine. No problems. I need to maintain it paused for a little bit longer while we continue to do this planning. So the idea is through here, we could go on piers from over here and then cut across here. And then on this side, we can just keep it nice and low. So I guess maybe that's the plan, right? We start the bridge from over here, keep it at a high level to be able to do that. So let's quickly do that. Let's have a look at our tools. Where is it? It's this tool over here. So this level is 0, of course. And I think what we're trying to maintain is about 20, 25, 26, maybe 30. So somewhere over here, we'll start the bridge and run it straight to the top, over the top. Now on this side, we will just be dropping it down, but it may be more appropriate for us to build up a little bit over here, so that we can potentially easier get access that then ties off into that general direction. Maybe that's not even required. So okay, let's have a quick look at this. So if we were to say, let's just assume we're going down there, right? Okay, so let's do this. I think we'll keep it tight, right? And we'll do a nice big swooping turn around here. And we'll do a nice big swooping turn around here. Right? And we may want to revisit the swooping turns. And then the thinking is we bridge that entire gap at that high level. What is our level here? We're at 32. Let's just go back and have a quick look at what our level was in this location. Over here, our level is 28. So about 30 is where we're wanting to do it. Maybe let's go down to, I think about that. That's obviously the 30 line there. I think let's just start where we're at. Okay, so we'll take this bridge then, and we want to keep it at, if we go up, how do we keep it at that level? Right? Oh, it's not actually. So the idea is that you need to stay. So we need to slowly, go up. Okay. So maybe what we need to do is let's find ourselves a level. Yeah, so that's not going to work. We need to. Yeah, it's very difficult to gauge the height here, right? Oh, the elevation we want to keep at 0. Ah, beautiful. Okay. Let's do that. Redo that. Let me get it. I didn't actually quite appreciate that. So let's do this. What we're trying to do is elevate to 0, right? And that is that keeping us at the level we want? It's doing it over there. Okay, hang on. So let's do this, right? Let's start it off on this side. So where are we going? We're gonna try it, run it over there. So the idea is if we were to want to be at grade, let's say around here somewhere. Okay, we'll do a big roundabout over there. Now the idea is we want to go up to be over the top of this, right? So what we're after is something like that. Okay, so if we were to say this 30, right? So let's do that. Let's see if that works. I guess we can do exactly the same there. Yeah, that's beautiful. And then on this side of things, all we want to do is we want to tie in over there, right? So I guess that's slowly dropping the elevation down to about 3. Whoa, this is a crazy bridge structure. Not end above water. Yeah, that's okay. So let's end it there. And we'll tie you in there, right? And, ooh, I'm not a fan. So the question is, can we potentially trim back that section there? And, oh, it wants to do the entire thing. Okay, well, we'll do that again. So now with the 1 in place, let's get the neighbor up to about there. And now the idea is, the thinking process here is, let's get something with a much bigger span, right? Our biggest span is 77. So if we were to span that, oh, that's a beautiful span across the waterway. And that's gonna be really good. So if we do that, potentially. So in an ideal world, instead of all of this infrastructure, what we would be doing is we'd be building up some stuff. Yeah. And so I'm thinking what we'll do is let's keep that bridge in there. And as we get a little bit closer, let's rethink the that. I'm not too it's not too bad that this is in the air, but I'm thinking we can at least fill up a lot more over here and then span it through like that. Get that span and then fill it up a little bit more over here. Maybe just a little bit more up to about there, and we just do some spans in there as well. Obviously, this is a straight section through here, and the boats will go through there. So, okay, I guess let's leave that there. What I will do is, of course, we need. Yeah, it's okay. We'll redo some of those items. So, what I'm thinking is, let's get rid of those two, and let's get rid of that, and we'll leave the bridge section in there. I'm also thinking we can get rid of this and do that a little bit better. At the moment, that swooping there is pretty good. This one through here. Okay, now, with that section planned, now the idea is that we can continue to run around this way. We will want to include a roundabout. So if I grab some of these roundabouts, right? Maybe not that one. Is that the only one we have? This is the one. Let's grab this roundabout, see if we can copy and paste it into that place there. So if we go and say copy an area, it's too much, really. Yeah, it tries to copy too much. So it's better. We're better off to just redo a little bit of planning out there. Give me the road. And what we'll do is we'll quickly just do a little bit of a roundabout right over here. So at the moment, if we were to say do maybe something like this, right into about the middle of that area, and then we do our 180. We do about 100 at 180, yeah, so something like that. Okay, then what we can do is we delete that little slither and we can just end up connecting them together, right? We don't want to really be playing it's a little awkward. So what I'll do is I'll trim back the other side a little and we'll just try and fix it. It's still a little awkward actually, so let's just do a little bit more like this and see if we can get it to work. Yeah, I think that is looking a little bit better. It's still a little wonky, but it's at least a little bit better. So, okay, so let's just bring our road in a level. Let's bring it straight for a little bit more. Okay, and then at the end here, we'll do a little bit of this. Similarly, we'll do that, and at the end here, we'll do that. That's pretty good, actually. And then similarly, we want to extend it on this side. So let's just do another kind of straight through section over here. Here we could potentially, provide a little bit of additional. That's not quite in the right spot. We could provide a little bit additional buffering, so a bit of a median strip in between. That would actually make a lot of sense over here. But I guess let's just get it done. Yeah, I think ultimately, so from the bridge section that's fine, but then on this side, let's do a little bit better than this. So let's do this, because now we're also not needing to do too much more. So let's do this. We'll do that. We'll trim out the middle, and what we'll do is we'll find the area here that makes a lot more sense, right? So something like that's probably okay. And now we need to find our. Ooh, actually, we're a little bit too far. The plan would be for us to run through. Oops, bit of a through there. The plan would be to run through something like this, right? Okay, so we'll need to turn it in. Let's trim that back a little. Trim that back a little. Okay. And now the idea is that we'll go over this way. Let's do that. And we'll aim for here. Now in here, I'm thinking we need a bit of a roundabout right over here. Right, so let's make a start. Get ourselves a neatly sized little roundabout. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll see, that should be okay. And what we'll do is we'll finish it off. Seemingly not. Anyway, that's okay. We'll just do that. That's fine. Okay, and then what we'll do is we will need to run, I guess, something like this across here, but we'll need to turn it, right? We'll need to tie it into a few things. So let us find this spot here. What does this do? I'm not sure that's very useful to us. And we'll need to find the other side here. Whoa. Yeah, so ultimately, this will also be a little bit problematic. Yeah, that's not quite right. This one might be a little bit wanky. Let's just switch off the snapping for a minute, and we'll try and line it up like that. So something like that is okay. And then similarly, we'll do this way as well. So let's just put that one. So we'll make a start there, and we'll tie it off that way. Similarly, we'll make a start. Let's bring it in a little bit more. He wants to just tie that together. I'm kind of thinking maybe we just go back to the single, getting them to work on the same thing. And then what this one should be easy. So let's do this one. So this one just goes straight across here. So we'll do something like that. And we'll do something like that. So for these, it's effectively a causeway. There's a little bit of room under there, but not for the big ships that we're using. And we're not really providing access here. And then that kind of runs us. I think the planning is that we run up here. Kind of tie that in. Yeah, I think it's just going to be easier to just do it this way. And then what we'll do is we'll run up this section through here. Okay, so we'll do something like this, and then we'll go across in both situations. So if we do this, is that gonna get us there? It doesn't actually want us. Hill is causing an obstruction. Okay, because it's not. It needs to go. It's trying to go down too quickly. Okay, so what we'll need to do is this guy will need to extend to, say, over here somewhere. Yeah, well, let's just go all the way to the end. That guy goes there. I guess the plan is, yeah, now we're not quite right here. Let's go back to straightening it up a little bit. We'll come in a bit more. Yeah, fine. A bit more like that. And I guess now still doesn't want to. So what we'll do instead is we'll just do it from this side. So, and then what we'll do is we'll have to tie it in on this side here. Let's just trim it back a little bit more, so we'll try and get a fairly smooth S-curve to get in there. No S-curve there, it's just direct smooth curve into there. We can provide some accessibility through here. And then finally speaking, we'll run a bit of a road out into that direction. I think we could probably bring it a little closer here. Okay, and then we'll get ourselves tied in like so. Just tie it in and we'll see. What does that do? Yeah, it's a bit of a causeway section through there instead of building that up. But that's a reasonable one. So that is our planning. This one on this side, I don't think we're going to make this work, right? This doesn't want to work because of this hill. So we'll need to flatten that out a little. At least I think we'll need to. Yeah, we'll need to flatten that out a little bit to be able to do that connection. What I'm going to redo quickly over here is we're going to just get rid of that. We're going to try and tie in over here. And then what we'll do is we'll do something like that, right? So we'll do that and we'll run it up to whatever this area is. We'll leave the other bits in place. So that's effectively our planned road network that will go all the way out there. What I will do for the time being, because we don't have any access to it, unlikely that we're going to start building any of this, we will activate it for construction. Look how much it would cost to actually build that. We're not going to do that, but we will activate it for construction. And then maybe what I should do, just as a bit of a precaution, we should say cancel construction. Let's just do that just to make sure we've canceled the construction. Right? I'm not sure it's doing anything, is it? Doesn't look like it's activating it or having a look at all. Does not look like it is doing anything. Okay. Anyway, let's have a look at these individual pieces. So yeah, suspend construction is not patched. So hang on, let's have a quick look. So do we have? We don't have an sign. Well, this is just a sign in construction. How do we? I thought we could batch. We can. It's through here. Batch suspend construction. There we go. That's the one I remember. I knew it was here somewhere. So let's just batch suspend. Yes, now we're getting the stuff that's telling us it's batch suspending. You can't do it from too high above, it seems. Let's just batch suspend all of this stuff, all of that. We don't want to build any of this at the moment. I don't want the crews to start getting into place here. So we're batching suspending there. There might be other sections that we choose to continue on with, but that will not be here. Okay, so that is, if we go back to the plan ever so quickly, I'll just drop that one. So now we can see that there is our road network running through this area and to be able to tie into there, and it will give some access to all of this. Plus, it'll allow for shortcuts through here. So I guess the big one for us is to shortcut it through here directly into Satomic. So at the moment, Satomic is quite a bypass there. So if we can do that one, it'll get there. This one will go around here. Potentially, of course, potentially what this one will also do is it'll allow you to run directly through into the production peninsula over here and through the canal district. But of course, we'll have another bypass coming around here and tying in on that side. But I guess that will kind of close out our strategic road corridors. At the moment, we just need to make sure that people can actually get to where they want to go fairly reasonably. We'll connect through there, and we'll have another one through here with a few kind of key connections that run directly through here. I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that. That'll be a big chunk of bridge structure. So I guess if this one runs around through here into there, that may be our final connection. We may want to do that. Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's kind of the planning. So let's quickly have a look at this stretch here where we have a little bit more in terms of our vehicular support to be able to do some stuff. Now, ideally speaking, we will take this road connection. We will tie into this road connection because that to some degree gives us access to stuff. Not so much, really. Unless we do some loops here. We could obviously do that. Yeah, I guess ultimately what we could do is we could just do loops to allow a better use of this. So I might reconstruct some of this stuff a little bit so that we can get that to work as well. Yeah, so I think there's definitely something we can do here to tie in a little bit of a better connection with this strategic road. And then there's not that much more. I mean, this then continues to tie into that option over there. So I guess we've got a very good structure for the road network. So ideally speaking, we want to do that. So I think what we'll do is we'll try and cross it over here somewhere. But I guess the first one that we'll need to have a bit of a look at is the levels for the rail. So it is super low down here, super low. I'm not sure we'll be able to. I mean, look at that build up to get to a place where it's actually there. So if anything, we will be building up all the way out here. Let's see if we have vehicles able to work here. Oh yeah, we do. Okay, so we're in a pretty good spot then to be able to do this. So it's still too low. And see, both the road and the rail needs to go up to this kind of high level here. Where are we at now? Okay, beautiful. So here is about the spot where we want to be. Now let's do a similar thing out on this side. Almost there. Let's pull that back a little bit more. Maybe even curving it out a little. And then this one is now also at the right spot. So let's let's build up a little bit on this side to just level it out to this side of the hill a bit more. Just because that curve might be quite acute, I think. So so let's try and get to something reasonable over here. Okay, so we don't want to get too crazy here. So let's try and average level it a little bit. We do want to give ourselves a little bit of a platform in this area where we can get all of our stuff to go across. Try and push it forward a little bit, but yeah, this is quite challenging. We'll do that, and then I guess we'll need to slowly build up here a little bit more, right? Okay, I guess that we'll need to kind of level that out a little bit, but I guess that gives us at least something to work with on that side. And obviously, similarly, we'll need to do something on this side, probably build it out a little bit on the edges here because we need multiple pieces of infrastructure to go through there. Find ourselves that little level area, and we'll push it out a little bit to give ourselves a little bit more room. The idea is, and this will probably just be a single road instead of a kind of highway connection because there's not much highway style stuff to tie into. We're trying to tie into this one, and which also then obviously ties into that one. So I guess that's the plan, right? This is this is crazy what we're seeing here, though. No, you know what? We're probably getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. So if we were to say, let's start it off, where will we take the rail? Rail on, I think, if we're going to have a town over here, maybe the fact is the rail needs to run in through here, and then we can tie the rail in, somewhere way before there, just in case we want to have multiple kind of areas where the rail can go in, and we want to be able to pick up some workers over here. So rail is on this side of things. Okay, so let's start off by getting ourselves our rail there, and then what we'll do is we'll grab our road. You know what? Probably a third rail, and then there's a gap between the two. We'll do that. Okay, and then we'll try and put the road directly next to that one. So grab me this guy. Yeah, it doesn't actually want to snap to it. But okay, so the idea is then this is our road, right? And then I'll go back and get rid of that rail. So there is effectively a one rail gap between there. Now, how are we going to tie in this rail? So let's have a quick look at that. So obviously tying in from this side is quite good. If we do it all the way over here, we could tie in from there as well. And then the question is, do we tie it in from this side? And then similarly going out that way and going out that way. I think ultimately that needs to be the primary focus of it. And I guess we're going to have more luck with actually a road connection just in through here instead of trying to tie in directly with those things. So I guess that's probably what we're going to do. We're going to try and we could even go underneath here. Yes. It might not have quite, but we could do a bit of an underpass underneath it. That would be really good for us. Okay. I'm starting to like it. Now, okay, so going back to the rail, let us select our rail. And the plan would be that we would try and tie it in something like this. And it's saying too steep descent. Of course, it is saying that. Okay, so what we'll need to do, I would love... Okay, so let's see. If we were to want to tie in maybe like this. Okay, let's see about that. I just want to make sure we're... Okay, so it doesn't want to do that because we still need to do this. Okay, beautiful. There we go. And the neighbor and the outside. Okay, good. And the outside on this side as well. Okay, so that's the one. Now let's go back. Let's do the other one. The outside. This one. This one. And the outside over here. Let's just do that. So I guess that is then the plan. All right. So the idea now being that we use this to tie in. This is not... Let's upgrade that in case we decide to keep it. So now let's get rid of that. And we'll see, can we tie it in somewhere like this? Crossing is not going to be allowed. So something like that, right? Is pretty good. Let's do that. Let's look at that as a starting point. This one will not want to do that. Okay, so hang on. So now we can trim it back, right? So we'll leave that spot in there. We'll go back all the way out here, right? And now what we'll say is now this guy tying in from over there, tying like this, right? And even the outside there. Yeah, that's beautiful. And the outside on that side. Nice. And similarly, we'll go here and say outside, tie in the outside over there. Okay, good stuff. Ooh. Okay. So let's do that. That's the one. The other one is then supposedly going to tie in here fairly easily. I was hoping it will. There was a little spot where it worked. Right here. Perfect. So it's a little bit of a lumpy section there, but it's not on the rail itself. So I guess that's the tie-in on that side. Now the question mark for me remains what we can do to potentially tie in over here. So what I'll do is I'll trim this back. Okay, so we'll keep kind of most of it in place, right? We'll keep that there. We'll trim this back, maybe even a little bit more up to about there. And then we'll try and just average out this section here, because that actually we can make use of that level there. So if we're saying let's average the terrain here, actually no, let's make sure that we level from the center in like this location. I just build a little bit of a plateau here. Okay, and then going to try and do a little something like this, right? So we'll average it out there, maybe. Okay, so we're trying to give ourselves a little bit more room to maneuver here. Okay. Maybe if we level ourselves a little bit more, so it's not such a massive. Because we also need to get the road down here as well. Actually, we need to do that. So let's just do that. Let's just make sure that there's enough room. Because we won't be able to level stuff again with the rail in place there, right? I guess we want to make sure we're giving the road enough space to also kind of get in this area. So that's looking pretty healthy. So let's try and give ourselves a little bit of this. We build that out, and then the same over here. We'll try and do a little bit more here. And there, and here. Okay. And then the road, we could get it down and go underneath there. So the road may have to, push out even a bit further here so that we could get that to work the way we would like to. Okay. So anyway, let's leave it there for the kind of main terraforming. Now, the idea is then, of course, we want to make sure that we keep tying this in here, right? Okay, so we'll do that. We'll do this one, okay? And now the plan is how on earth do we tie it into this side so it's actually fairly reasonable? And I think we should disconnect ourselves from all of this activity here by trying to tie in That's not quite what we're after. Let's try the other side first. So if we were to say that's going to be very, very, very lumpy, right? If we were to say this, right? Okay, and now we're also going to attempt to tie in. Let's just level it here a little bit to go to the higher level. We're not unpaused. Yeah, we're not. There's a lot that actually needs to happen. But if we were to up the level here just a little bit to make it easier to tie in potentially. Okay, so we'll do something like that, right? And then the thinking was what we do is we tie in like this. Okay. And then plan is to do that. The only thing I'm a little worried about is that fairly lumpy section right at the top here. If we look at this, that's really not leveling out nicely. So what I think we should be doing is we'll take that one away and we'll try and tie it out a little earlier. Yeah, I think that's going to be a little bit better. We can make it work. It's still a little lumpy here. So, no, forget about that. Let's get rid of this. We'll trim this one out a little bit more. Okay. We'll try and just level this terrain just a tad over here. So lots of little infrastructure pieces that we're having to deal with. Okay, so I think this is much nicer now. We've taken out the lumps there. We'll get this to go back in. I think for the most part, we've taken out the lumps. And then now the idea is that we would like to try and tie these off here. Oh, come on. It's going to have to want to work at some point, right? There we go. Just need to start it off a little bit later. And then what we'll do is we'll redo this leveling activity over here. Okay. We'll again do it from this side because that's the one, oops, the one we didn't want to build. Try that one more time. We just want to make sure that we are actually leveling out all of the items there. Oh, yeah. So that's okay. That should give us everything we need. Ooh, we want to tie that together. Bring that back and tie it in. Okay, so that gives us the option to go this way or that way. It does not give us the ability to tie in there. And so the only other thing that I'm thinking may be useful is if we thought about this as an option. But it's picking up a very, very crazy descent through here, right? We can't actively fix that. You wouldn't want to cross it like this either. So at the moment, what would it need to do? Oh, it can go that. It can't actually tie in here. The only point where it can do that tie-in is over here. The question mark would be, would we do this? Wow. Would that be a bit of a... Let's quickly have a look. We can. I don't think that's even remotely possible. Something like this? Wow. That would be so complex. It's up this a little bit here. That's a little bit more room to maneuver. And then let's just kind of level it there a little bit. Okay, so something like that gives us a little bit more kind of room. Okay, so in case we wanted to try something funny, so if we were to then say you're going to go over here, so let's quickly get rid of these symbols here. See if we could potentially get a tie-in to work. The idea would be there, really. And it'll be complex in nature, guys. It'll be so complex in nature. But maybe, oh my goodness, could get that to work. Can we try and start it a little, something like this? Just give ourselves a little bit more room. Oh, this descent is going to be too steep? I don't think it's that. Wow. That. Can we do the return? Oh, quite. Look at this. Wow, look at that, guys. That gives us all directions, plus it gives us straight through into there. At some point, I must wonder about the through connection here and whether we may want to bridge that over the top of everything. But for now, I think this will give us the connectivity. It's going to be a complex and challenging interchange to work with. Now, for the road connection, we're going to have to, I think, go underneath here and tie in somewhere. So my thinking with the road connection is, let's quickly see if we were to grab a road tunnel, maybe start it there and then go deeper. Well, the idea is that it needs to go up. Yeah, it's not quite. Okay, so we may have to start it there. Too short crossing not allowed. Okay. One more thing with this. So let's quickly see. This is getting out of hand. I need to end this episode, and I don't want to necessarily extend the next episode with the same issues. Okay, so if we were to give ourselves a little bit more room, can't quite level it underneath there. So let's just go back to leveling like that. Okay, so try and see if that can potentially work. Yeah, it might be a little bit challenging. I mean, on this side, it does seem like we've got 3 and so even this side is not quite there and that side is not even close. So what are our options here? We can't go over the top because of the bridge, right? So let's go back. Let's have a little bit of a look here. So let's try and lower this terrain a little bit here without going into the water, of course. So let's level it on the level that is not in the water, which is 0, and this is up at 9. So that should be able to get us that crossing over there. Now, let's see. If we were to lower this terrain here, okay, we do still find a little bit of water there. So let's level quite nicely just over the top of the water there. If we did a little bit of this, maybe that could give us that. So that's 0 and that's 0, right? I'm not sure this tunnel is actually going to work. But anyway, let's try that again. So if we started the tunnel here, go down 1. Is that workable? That really does look workable. Okay. And now the idea is that we need to just tie that in. But I think that is quite feasible to get done. Oops, didn't want to do that. Bring that back to about there. We just need to do a little bit more terraforming here. So let's start off with these guys and just kind of dig, kind of get a little bit of height going on over here. And we'll slowly start to some stuff like that, and then we'll try and level some stuff out a little bit over here, right? So something like that should give us some opportunities to do this. Really? Doesn't want to? Is it really going to be that steep? Okay, well, let's try and level it out, average it out a little bit over here. I think it might just be... that looks okay. That looks okay. Let's try that again. If we were to do... oh, yeah. There we go. We've done it by hand. And I guess now the idea is we'll tie it in kind of just like this, really. And that gives us that road connection. So there we go, guys. Look at that. There we go. This was a pretty intensive piece here. Pretty intensive piece, but that does give us this connectivity. So let's quickly get the bridge side of things in place. We've got the road on this side like here. Then we would like to put a bit of a rail in there. And we'll do another, and we'll do another, and that's kind of where the rail needs to go. So we'll need to kind of get it to work a little bit more on the other side of things. Now, for this one, it has to be curved, right? And those are 24 meters apart, and these are 20 meters apart. So we're not going to have anything with any kind of reasonable span through here. Let's have a look. If we did this. Wow, look at that bridge. Look at that bridge. The alternative, hang on, let's quickly see. The alternative is for us to grab something with a big span and just span it over like this, right? That's the normal approach, but we won't ever be able to make the rail work there unless we I wish we could have curved this one just a little bit. But I guess that's the plan. So if that's the alternative, right? So if we, come on. If we trim this back a little bit, I'm going to spend a few more minutes here. No, not on the road, but we will obviously need to tie the road in like this as well, do some more maneuvering here. But if we go to the rail and we trim this back here a bit more, even more, like something like that, and we try and level it here, similarly, we'll have to do stuff over here to make that work. So if we did try and level this a little bit more, so let's just try it. Level from the center. Give ourselves a bit of space here. Okay, yeah, it's reasonably working. We're pushing it out a little bit more. That's the plan. Pushing it out. And then do the same thing over here. Yeah, part of the reason why I'm keeping it all paused at the moment is because we're going to head into winter, and planning these things in winter becomes quite a bit more tedious. Let me grab these guys and try and make the whole thing a little easier to deal with. Yeah, I think that's okay. Similarly, let's do the same thing over here. Okay, that's a lot easier. So now if we level that out again, yeah, now we've got room to maneuver. We can't do too much more. We're going to have that acute angle through there. So let's try, if we now said, what can we do in terms of road, bridge? We've got, what are these? These are 58. So I guess the 58s will have to do. So if we were to say, run the 58s across here. Right, so we'll do that one and that one. And then the plan would be, of course, that we want to tie these together, and they can tie together, but it is pretty tight for us to make that work, right? And then similarly we do on the other side. So now if we trim off the road here ever so quickly, I think we can make the entire road come a little closer as well. So let's get rid of that and instead put it right over here, and let's try and see, are we okay, so let's try another road, one that has slightly so this is 42. 77. This is 77. And I guess we want something that's maybe 57 instead, because that's going to be much closer aligned to the rail. Yeah, look at that. So that's the one. That's the one we're putting in there, because that gives us that nice gap in the middle there. And then we will trim the road out to about there. We will tie the road back in, and I'm going to call that the episode. And we will continue this in the next episode. So there we go. A pretty challenging maneuver over here, but at least now we are sure of what we're trying to achieve here. Okay, so that's pretty good, and that is getting us through there. Quite a challenging little piece of infrastructure. It'll take a bit of time to build. Hopefully on this side we can come out here a little bit and get that curve to come in, but we'll do that in the next episode, and then we'll start planning out here. Well, we'll actually let the game run a little bit, so that we can also get more workers and so on, and hopefully see this work a little bit better. I still wanted to have a bit of a look at that, but I guess this works well. We could maybe get access in here if we needed to, but I don't think that's important. This side we can get access from that area, so I guess that just gives us onto this road, allowing us to tie in any direction really where we want to go, but this road becoming increasingly important. Hopefully it's not going to be really busy, but I guess that was quite an interesting piece here. I'm kind of wondering whether, just before we end it, if we trim this one just back there, right? Like this, right? Could we make this work a little bit? Actually, to be honest, instead of having the multiple curves there, could we just do it? Could we just do that? Okay, and let's build it out on the outside of this as well. There we go. That's looking a lot healthier, actually. I think we could also trim it back on this side, and a little bit more there, right? And then try and just redo that a little bit. I think that looks quite healthy. That looks quite healthy to tie in all of these things. Okay, so what I'll do, we'll leave it there. I will see you in the next episode where we'll continue this journey. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please hit that like button. Bye-bye.